What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So with all of the anticipation right now around GTA 6 and apparently it coming out this year, there's also, of course, been a lot of discussion around the price point for the game, and wouldn't you know it, another analyst has shown up saying to expect potentially that $100 sticker price, and well, we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Microsoft getting ready for another big game announcement. This one, though, a collection that seems ready to make its debut on the PlayStation 5. And we have Nintendo rolling into a celebration week, actually, for Mario. And they did lay out a bunch of different events to look forward to, but is there maybe something else that they're getting ready? We'll go over that as well. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or even the link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Neil Druckman and the potential for Last of Us Part 3. Now, he was talking with Variety about the Last of Us TV series right now that is going into Season 2, and it's exciting because the first season was very good. We know, of course, that the next couple of seasons is going to be dealing with the Last of Us Part 2, and it's going to have some interesting reactions, I'm sure, from the side that's really only experienced the series and not necessarily the games. But of course, he was asked about the potential for Last of Us Part 3. We can see this over on Variety. Neil Druckman saying, "I was waiting for this question." Druckman says, sighing when I bring up the prospect of a third game. I guess the only thing I could say is, don't bet on there being more of Last of Us. This could be it. Now, I will say, The Last of Us Part 1, or just The Last of Us, I think that worked really well as a self-contained story. I don't think we needed Last of Us Part 2, but the gameplay, the overall structure of it, it's a very, very good game. Now, of course, story and stuff is controversial, but like in general, it's a very, very good release. One game of the year, the whole thing. But right now, he's working on Intergalactic. I don't know if he's even thinking necessarily about Last of Us Part 3 development. Apparently, the script and the idea is out there. It's kind of been written and set up, so if Sony wants to pursue it, they can, and I feel like they would, considering Last of Us Part 2 would have been successful enough to deem at least an attempt at a sequel there and make it just a trilogy. But right now, I'm sure he's focusing on Intergalactic. And also, I don't think he'd all of a sudden say, yes, Last of Us Part 3, we're working on it, excited to talk more about it when we can, but make sure you pay attention to Intergalactic. No, he's going to really put Intergalactic up as much as possible because that's their next big release. Also, we have some unfortunate news around Ballistic Moon, which is the studio that put out Until Dawn remake that didn't do the greatest when it came out in terms of its overall state, its overall quality, but we can see this posted up, this by Insider Gaming, who says they've learned that after the layoffs that were publicly announced in September 2024, that was roughly 40 employees or so that were let go, the remaining staff was kept to offer post-launch support and development on Until Dawn after its October release, which they did put out a patch to try to fix some of the issues, but they still sort of remained. But in December 2024, the company quietly laid off all that staff. So they're all gone. It results in around 20 more developers losing their job. And the sources say that only the studio's founders remain and possibly a handful of employees at most. Now, it seems that basically like the public relations, marketing, development staff, they're all gone. And according to some of the sources Insider Gaming talked to, the founders, people at the top at Ballistic Moon, were expecting maybe Sony to come back with some other funding to do something else, another project. But like if you looked at Until Dawn Remake and saw the state that it came out in, I don't know if you would look at that and say, well, yeah, we definitely want them working immediately on another project. That's the unfortunate nature of the gaming business, the industry. This was a new studio that was formed in, 2019, and this was like their first real project, and it didn't go over so well, so yeah, you're going to lose some confidence from maybe the big platform holder publisher that was backing you for that title, and they can't seem to source funding elsewhere, so then, yes, they don't have the money to pay people to come into work. And unfortunately, there was also discussion around unpaid work for weeks and weeks and weeks, so not great for Ballistic Moon, and something tells me we're probably going to hear about them maybe going away at this point, at some point in the future with an announcement. Oh, and real quick, we did have a random piece of news with the PlayStation 3 getting a system update. You can see this. Update 4.92, the system software update improves system performance. That's pretty much it. Like nothing else. But it was weird because randomly yesterday, hey, the PS3 got an update. That was it. I mean, I'm sure it's annoying to the homebrew community that now has to figure out what exactly they did and then make sure the custom firmware and exploits and stuff still work on that update. It's just strange stuff. I think they were digging into it and saw that they had updated like the Blu-ray keys and stuff for security. That's kind of like basic stuff though. So otherwise, maybe some back-end stuff that we don't even really notice, just reorganizing different pieces of code. And there you go. 4.92, mostly there to annoy the homebrew community. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with game pricing, maybe going up because of Grand Theft Auto 6. This has already come up actually a couple of times, but more prominently with an analyst that put out an entire report that said that a bunch of publishers were kind of hoping that Take-Two and Rockstar would push the envelope a bit and release a $100 baseline game for GTA 6, which I think for most of us who are paying attention isn't a great idea in general, not just because we would have to pay $100 for the game minimum, but because we understand there's a lot more to game pricing than just that upfront sticker price. There are many ways that these companies make money on the back end after that initial barrier of entry, which is now $70. But still, let's take a look. This is posted up over on VGC, and I saw this headline making the rounds everywhere, and then I looked into it and realized why. They say Analyst thinks Take-Two will sell Grand Theft Auto 6 at an unprecedented $100 price point. Again, the idea being, hey, they're gonna set the baseline watermark here, right? And then of course there'll be companies that'll push the envelope further with all kinds of other additions. But let's see, this is from Michael Pachter, who says, we think the company has plans to sell the game at a previously unheard of price point and suspect that management can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with a large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online. Now keep in mind, Michael Pachter deals with a lot of big investment firms, and we'll just kind of keep them up to date on things like big releases GTA 6 in the entertainment industry and how, of course, it could affect Take-Two's just overall earnings and their reports in the future, which we all know GTA 6 is going to do crazy numbers. That's not shocking, but could they do more if they did have the game cost $100? He goes on to say this is precedent for integrating an online game experience with a premium game, as Activision did so with both Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile content prior to release of its annual Call of Duty Premium installment. In Activision's case, the integration led to a 40% increase in sales of Call of Duty Premium. In Take-Two's case, we think a successful integration of GTA Online and GTA 6 can lead to a $100 price point for the premium game. Now, the funniest part about all of this is I think Michael Pachter is actually correct here. Now, I think he's maybe looking at this from a different angle than I would. He mentions packaging in a bunch of currency for a $100 price point, and yeah, companies are doing that now. There's a game out tomorrow that's kind of doing this. It's WWE 2K25. They have different tiers for the game that you buy, and like the $100 version gives you early access, and then the one above that gives you in-game currency for like $130, or you can just wait for the baseline game to come out, get none of that, and it releases next week at $70. So this isn't a new concept at all, and it's one that I would fully expect Take-Two to do because they're already doing it with a lot of their sports titles. So yes, there will be at least a $100 edition of GTA 6. I still think the baseline version, if you just want to play the single player, which I know there's a lot of people who are looking at this as, oh yeah, Grand Theft Auto Online, that's going to be awesome, the new one. There are still a lot of people who just want to do the single player and that's it. It's going to be a large open world that is going to be highly detailed and have all kinds of interesting story beats, I'm sure, and characters. And it'll be a game that people spend maybe 100 hours or more in just the single player side. So yeah, I could see that being $70. The online side, maybe that is $30. Maybe they separate it. But I think you'll surely see a version one way or the other, even if it's all together at $70, that's like, hey, here's a bunch of shark cards or in-game currency, and it's $100, and you get to play early. That's going to be the biggest thing. They will absolutely sell millions and millions, tens of millions of copies of GTA 6 just from early access. Like, that's it. $100, you get in 3 or 4 days early. People are going to be falling over themselves to give them money to get into that game as soon as possible. So technically, Michael Pachter is right here. There will be a $100 version, I believe, and there probably will be a $250 collector's edition and maybe more than that. But I don't necessarily think it's just a baseline game. I don't think they're going to set a new like bare minimum watermark or something at $80 to $100. I think it's going to be pretty standard stuff from what we've seen from Take-Two because it works and because GTA 6 is going to sell a stupid amount of copies, and they, of course, want to get people into their online side so that they can keep hitting them with the shark cards and the microtransactions. So, hey, for Michael Pachter, that's a good take, just from a slightly different viewpoint. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft and this ridiculous run in 2025 that they are currently on. I mean, we just talked about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4 and how that's now set up for July, but even throughout up to that point, they have a bunch of games like ready to roll. And then they're going to have an event, it seems like, in June to announce a bunch of other games to close out the year. And one title in particular has been kicked around for a while, and it's back again. We can see this posted up. This is over on GameSpot. It says a Gears of War collection is reportedly going to be announced this summer with a PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S release. According to leaker X1s, Microsoft is reportedly going to reveal a Gears of War collection during the upcoming Xbox Games Showcase in June. While the exact games in the rumored collection are unknown, it's likely to be at least, of course, the first 3. Maybe the spin-off Judgment. I mean, I guess. I feel like just 1, 2, and 3 is pretty straightforward. Put those out, and it's just being one package release. Now, the thing that's interesting about this, one, Jez Corden did mention that he heard that there wasn't multiplayer, kind of following up on another rumor that was going around, which I guess this would just be the campaign, so almost like one straight playthrough you can do of 1, 2, and 3. No multiplayer is odd. I feel like they would have picked one of the 3 games and just had multiplayer, and like that's it. Maybe you wouldn't have multiplayer for all 3 because then you spread the community out a bit across them all, but like just one, I think would be fine. The other thing is there's someone else mentioning the idea that this is already uploaded to the back end of PlayStation, like the database. And if that were true, I think there's many different Twitter accounts right now that track this stuff and will post immediately about it. So maybe by the time you're seeing this video, it's happened. But at the time of this recording, I have not seen anyone else mention it. So I'm going to kind of leave that definitely in like the massive grain of salt territory right now. But we already see these games from Microsoft jumping over to PlayStation at, I mean, just a rapid fire pace. Starfield's been talked about as getting an announcement anytime now. So sure, Gears, that would make sense. The Halo Master Chief Collection's also been floated and apparently ready to go. So this is going to be a pretty big year for Microsoft with all this stuff adding up to where it could be more than 12 releases in a year for them, which means they would average out to more than 1 game release per month, which is absolutely ridiculous for a publisher. So it's a big year for Microsoft right now. They continue to just pile on games, and it seems like they have no plans of slowing down going into the second half of 2025. Maybe with a Gears of War collection coming up maybe this summer with the announcement. Next up, let's talk about Mario Day. It's a big celebration for Nintendo, March 10th, so next week on Monday. And last year we had like the little mini direct for Mario Day that dropped, and I mean, it was kind of fun. They did drop some game into NSO. They talked about some of the Lego stuff. Okay, that's fine. So we've at least have some stuff on Mario Day to look forward to. In this case, they're at least outlining some of the events as they lead up to March 10th, which we can see this posted up. This is over on Nintendo's website. They have an entire like Mario events page here. So at the top, they have a My Nintendo Universal Epic Universe Super Nintendo World Sweepstakes. So you can enter to win a trip for 4 to go check out Super Nintendo World down in Orlando, Florida. They also have a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Community Challenge, which you can, I guess, enter and compete to win platinum coins and other things. They also have the bundle that we've already talked about. That's the Nintendo Switch OLED model with Mario Brothers Wonder, and then the 3-month Nintendo Switch Online individual membership. That comes in at the price of $350. They kind of make it out as, hey, look, it's a $68 added value that we're kind, so we're just going to give it to you at $350. Thanks, Nintendo. Although I still don't know why you would necessarily buy. We all know the Switch 2 is obviously being shown April 2nd, and maybe if you just don't have one yet, you've been wanting to get one, it's not a bad deal. It's just, I mean, the Switch 2 is right there, you know, like I would hold out a bit here just to see what we have on April 2nd. And then they wanted to tell us about their JetBlue aircraft. It has Mario and Friends on the side. So there you go. We have Alarmo that's finding its way into different stores. So you can walk into Best Buy, GameStop, Walmart, Target, pick one up if you want. They have some My Nintendo physical rewards. You can spend your platinum points on that. They have a sale going on where they're mostly taking $20 off most of the first-party $60 Mario games. So they're coming in at $40. Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, Super Mario RPG, Princess Peach Showtime, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. They also have Mario vs. Donkey Kong. That's going down to a suggested retail price of $30. You can walk into, again, most of these retail stores, Best Buy, GameStop, Target, Walmart, and pick them up off the shelf and get them at the discounted rate. This will have demo events at GameStop and Best Buy. And if you go to Nintendo New York on March 10th, you can meet Mario and Luigi. So while some of that stuff is kind of fun, I guess, it doesn't seem like a big celebration for Mario Day this year. And maybe that's just because the Switch 2 is like right around the corner and that's where a lot of their focus is. They could still do something on Mario Day. It could be a shadow drop for something else in NSO. They could do like a 5-minute video that they put out there just going back over the history of Mario. Or hey, maybe they show up and say, you know what? Mario Galaxy 2 is now available on the eShop. We left it out of 3D All-Stars, but here you go. You can complete the collection. Just don't ask us to buy 3D All-Stars, because that's not happening. It doesn't exist anymore. But I guess we'll see on Monday. Otherwise, there you go. You can save some money off some first-party titles, or buy a Switch OLED bundle for $350, even though the Switch 2 is going to be shown in a few weeks. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Suikoden, because we have two stories technically here. Some good news, some bad news. Let's start with the good news, though. So we do have Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. That is out today, and the reviews dropped. Check it out. Looks pretty good. It's at a 79 right now on the PS5, an 81 on PC, and 81 on the Switch. So overall, this seems like a good collection. I say it seems like a good collection because, to me, if you look through the reviews, none of them are talking about anything that's messed up when it comes to the ports or the versions of the games or some weird thing that happened with localization. They're just talking about the games. And to me, you already know what you're getting into if you pick up Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster for the most part. Maybe you're someone trying it out for the first time, but obviously Suikoden fans have been waiting for this, and it's like, oh cool, I get the 1 and 2 setup as an HD Remaster. Seems like it's just a good remastered collection here. So that's the good news. Okay. The unfortunate news, we'll say, is that there was a new Suikoden game that was announced, so that's cool. The only problem is, as they were showing the trailer, people realized something. It's a free-to-play RPG from Konami for iOS and Android. Now, the release date is still to be determined. They haven't figured that out yet. It's called Suikoden Star Leap. Takes place a few years before the events of the first game, but a couple years after the 5th game. So, yeah, it's going to have gotcha elements then, I figure. Apparently, it has to do with guest characters and stuff. So, as I was reading through the description, at least for Star Leap, it sounds like it's possible for them to maybe translate it over and like retrofit it to be just a premium priced product, maybe for consoles. Although, it's Konami, they are going to take these kind of swings occasionally where it's like, hey, free-to-play game with gotcha elements, so we can try to make some money on this, and not the announcement I'm sure that longtime Suikoden fans were looking to hear, especially after seeing 1 and 2 remaster or HD Remaster with those reviews dropping and things looking good. And they go, here's a free-to-play cell phone game. I know it's what you've all been looking for. Don't you all have phones? And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, a game you really want just released, but it's only digital on day one with a physical copy coming months later for more money. What do? This happens a lot because they get like the limited run announcement a month later or something. 30% say buy digital day one. Stick with that. 15% are going to buy it day one, double dip, get the physical one down the road. 54% say they're going to wait for the physical release later. I don't know. I feel like there are going to be some that are going to that are going to hedge on that, because great example. When Metroid Prime Remastered came out and it just shadow dropped, I saw a lot of excitement. People were like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to go play it right now. Saw a lot of screenshots. A lot of people talking about playing it. Even though the physical copy was coming later, I think that's one that people definitely double dipped on. And let's say the next big Zelda game is digital only first, then physical later. There are some things going around right now with the tariffs and how that could affect even game sales, physical ones. So it's possible, depending on how things shake out with this, you might see more digital than anything else, and maybe physical later on after all that gets worked out. So a lot of unknowns right now. I was just curious where people fell on this, and I feel like many people, if it's the right title, just gonna buy it digitally day one and play it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Elmo, who says, I hope the PS6 has an integrated disk drive and not a detachable one. We all know what happened with the PSN outage and gamers unable to play even their physical games because their disk drive needed to connect to the PlayStation server. So that was the situation with that currently is you want to make sure your PlayStation 5 is your primary system. So if you've bought a new PS5 recently and haven't set that up, do that. And you also want to, of course, pair your disk drive. So in this case, though, I get it. The idea of still having that disk drive is important for physical game collectors. Now, when it comes to preservation and stuff, I prefer to get my games physically as well. I don't think Sony is going to integrate it into the system. I think it's going to be a detachable disk drive, maybe by a cable, and it's going to look very much like an afterthought. And it's something you get to buy for extra money, yes. So when I look at the PS5 now, that disk drive definitely looks like, kind of clashes with the original design. I think the original design was that digital PS5 where it's just completely symmetrical. And then it's like, oh, how do we get this disk drive on there? Whatever, just bow it out a little bit, slap it on the side. Who cares? The digital one is that's the main design. Even with the slim, it's much more pronounced there. So I kind of feel like they don't necessarily want to sacrifice design maybe for the PS6, and they would just sell the disk drive separately as like, kind of looks like one of those laptop ones, right? One of the separate ones you buy, and it's like a little thin box, and you just run a cable to your computer. Kind of think that's going to be the move here for the PlayStation 6 as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe want to hear more about some of the digital side of things where even Nintendo is actually pulling a game down from their online service. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.